I am inside a 1984 mobile home, and this is the ceiling, obviously. This home is interesting because it has a cathedral ceiling and it has flat ceilings. So we can kind of look at both styles of ceilings that a mobile home might have, and I'm going to give you guys an inside look of what a mobile home attic actually looks like. So this is pretty typical of a cathedral ceiling in a mobile home. We have a typical fiberboard panel ceiling, which is made with a wood fiber, like a cellulose fiber panel. And while it looks like it follows the roof line, it's actually a vaulted ceiling, not a cathedral ceiling. It's slightly shallower because it's hooked to a truss system. And here in this bedroom, we can see the same ceiling, but flat and low, typical, again, the same fiberboard ceiling. Now, if you were to gut the ceiling, this is what you would find. You can see it's a system of shallow trusses. I would call these scissor trusses because of the way they're shaped. And these trusses are actually made out of 2x2s, so they're pretty small, but still sturdy enough because of the way they're designed to hold up the roof and the ceiling. Now, the ceiling panels they usually use in mobile homes are a lightweight ceiling because obviously these trusses aren't heavy duty and the mobile home needs to stay as light as possible for transport, so they choose lightweight materials wherever possible. And here you can see they really achieved that. And now you can see how they wedged some insulation between the metal roof and the trusses. And I guess that's just to keep it from being noisy. But you can see the metal roof is not actually attached. It just floats. They attach it along the top and along the bottom, but it's not actually attached anywhere on the trusses in between. It just lays on top of it. You can see how that works. And that's pretty typical of what you'd say on a metal roof on a mobile home. And that might surprise you to see that it's not really attached to much. But that's the way they did it. And now this whole cavity would more or less be filled with insulation. And you'll notice there's no ventilation. Very often they'll have a plastic vapor barrier and the insulation above it, but no ventilation anywhere. It's a sealed roof assembly. And if we look up here, we can actually see the flat section of ceiling. And again, it is a system of trusses, but these are just a different shape. These have a flat bottom. And we can see the blow-in insulation on there, as well as the plastic sheeting. Now, you don't often see a vapor barrier on the ceiling of a site-built home, but in mobile homes it's pretty common, so I think that might be because of the sealed roof assembly. They want to try to stop moisture from getting up here in the first place. But it's a simple system. Again, the framing is very small, but it's still pretty sturdy. And there is no attic access in a mobile home. It's too small, and there's no reason to climb up here. But this is what you might find up here in your home. Now, mobile homes will vary. Construction methods will vary depending on the manufacturer. Sometimes you'll find batt insulation, like regular fiberglass batts up in your ceiling instead of the loose fill. But generally they follow a common theme like this, just the way they're built. And if you're ever thinking about renovating your mobile home and you might want to tear down the ceiling, use caution. If it's not in bad shape, it's usually better off just leaving it alone because it turns into a big mess when you start opening up. And also you want to close it up properly because since there's no ventilation up there, you want to make sure you don't have a lot of places for moisture to get into your attic to begin with. With a metal roof and all that insulation, it could lead to a lot of condensation. That's just my personal opinion. It's just use caution there. And that's not to say that some mobile homes don't have ventilation, especially newer ones. The attics could be well ventilated, especially shingle roof attics. But I'm talking about these old vintage mobile homes with the metal roofs. You guys know what I mean. And the other thing to remember if you're renovating is how these trusses look. You can see they're made out of 2x2s. So if you're going to be hanging a heavy ceiling on it, just be aware of that this structure has to hold all that weight. And while these trusses are strong, if you're putting a new roof on top and a new ceiling on the bottom, you're adding a lot of weight to the trusses. And then depending on where you live with the snow load and things like that, you just want to be aware that you might overload your ceiling. Just use your best judgment when it comes to that, your location, the build style. And I think it's always best to stick with lightweight products whenever possible on a mobile home because that's just what they're built around, so it helps to stick with that. That's not to say you couldn't put drywall up there and be perfectly fine, because plenty of people do it. So I think that's all I have in this video. I just wanted to show you guys the attic and give you an idea of what a mobile home ceiling and attic looks like. The good thing about these attics is there's plenty of room for ducting and wiring if you need to fish something through, especially retrofitting. It makes it a lot easier than solid ceiling rafters and joists and all that stuff. So easy to work in, just a little bit different. And every once in a while you might even find a broken truss. But don't worry, they're easy to fix. You can reinforce them with some plywood on the side or some cistern, some wood. So they're pretty easy to work with, nothing to be intimidated by. So I hope that helps. Thanks for watching, and until next time, take care.